Good morning, everybody. This is the Bart Winkler Show. I will go through some voicemails a little bit later. Thanks for sending those in. We'll talk some Brewers. But first, Justin Garcia of the Bucks Radio Network found some time in his busy schedule to join us. And thank you for that. This is the 2-year anniversary of the Bucks winning the NBA Finals. It kind of feels like longer than that, though, doesn't it? It feels like 6 or 7 years ago, sort of.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago. I don't know if that's just because of the weird COVID year and the fact that, I guess the good part is they kind of have this time to their own because of the schedule being weird, that the anniversary, we've been inundated with it for the last week. If this is the 2-year anniversary of Chris scoring 40, and
yeah, well, I'm here. I'm happily doing the 2-year anniversary of the finals.
The finals, yeah. You didn't.
I don't
do
need the 2-year
previous
anniversary
shows
of Game 3 against the Nets. As fun as that was, let's not engage the engagement factories.
Every other day.
2-year anniversary when we beat the Heat in 5.
I mean, I don't want to complain because who would have, thought? I started covering the team, and I use that very loosely because I think all of us I covered the team since, insert year, when the reality is anybody that puts that in their bio or says that, they're likely just showing up with a credential, eating a free meal and watching the game. And that's the extent of covering the game. But I started doing that 2009, 2010, somewhere in that range. And nobody would have thought then that this team could even have a chance to play for a championship. So I'm not going to shoot down. It's getting to be a bit much, but it's a lot and it's only going to increase with 2 years ago. This happened. And 2 years ago today, Giannis blocked DeAndre Ayton. We saw that a couple of days ago. So yeah, but the fact that it occurred in July and not while the Bucks were still in the playoffs and in May or June, I think is kind of carved out that niche where they kind of have that space to their own now.
Well, and that's, I think, the main reflection I have of the championship run from 2 years ago. And we mentioned it at the time and soaked in it at the time, but it was, God, I think a lot. I think a lot about COVID. Just because of how
about the actual strain.
Yeah. About the actual, yeah. I think a lot about that time and how we thought, because I remember in the early days of COVID, I was watching a cartoon like Simpsons or something, and I thought, is this the only thing that we're never going to get live TV again? Everything's going to have to be cartoons because this virus is going to be, and with all due respect to those that want to say live, but I think about it a lot. And now we're just like
never happened.
Like it never happened.
Never happened.
Which is crazy. But I bring this up because that was the period of time where things were kind of coming back and not fully, though. Like this summer in Milwaukee has been wild with the 3 weekends of Summerfest and the Harley thing. And now I got airplanes flying over my head for the Aaron Waters show all the time. This is the worst week to take a nap for me. In Shorewood, I say the east side, but people know where I live. I just that time 2 years ago, there's none of it. The only thing to do was go to the Deer District and watch the Bucks.
Super safe too, as we can all attest.
And the Bucks at that time, they got to be I don't know, they were to the same calculated risk as everybody else. Whatever. This is never going to happen again. Let's just enjoy it.
Should probably be careful given my relationship to the team, and that is one of the places I collect a check from. But I'm sure it was the scene from a movie where you have the data scientist guy that presents something to the president, like Independence Day Part 3, where it's sir, we've seen this, and just shut up, just put that away. I'm sure that's what it was. Of I don't know, guys, should we really be doing this and cramming in as many people as we can? It's just let's pretend we didn't set we didn't know this many people would show up.
I'm not suggesting that fully. I'm just saying there might have been one guy in the
I remember
up and said, are we sure? leave the room.
It was crazy because, as you mentioned, like we weren't all the way back yet. That it was like what, a month or 2 months before the playoffs.
And it was 2021. So I mean, it wasn't 2020. It was 2021, but not all of Milwaukee. That's what I'm saying. Like, not all of the things were back.
It wasn't full
attendance.
This was
the only thing to do that summer.
Yeah, it wasn't full attendance until just before the playoffs started, and that was a big deal too. We've increased it, where it was the gradual. Like, I remember Christmas Day that year where we finally got the Christmas Day game and got to host it. And showing up to the arena, we're like, man, this is, the Bucks are not only playing on Christmas Day. I think that was 3 years in a row, but it's in Milwaukee this time. And then you show up and you like, wow, there's 300 people here, and it's mostly like employees and friends of employees that have the tickets here. That it was not the Christmas Day hosting experience that we all envisioned. And then it was gradual too, where it went to like, oh, we got 5,000 fans. And it was this really slow buildup, rightfully so. But then once we got to the playoffs, it was just kind of like, okay, whatever you want, it's free. Where we had, I don't know what the official number, well, I do know what the official number was. I don't know. I don't remember what they listed, but it was more than what they listed for people out there in Deer District, not the Deer District. They're very particular about that, but in Deer District. And
it's not the Deer District?
No, it's just Deer District.
So I can't say I'm going down to the Deer District?
Well, you can say it, but I'm sure Dan Schani or somebody, in my case, Barry Baum, usually will send you a reminder of, hey, caught this. Great content. FYI, it's Deer District. It's not the Deer District. So
when?
Apparently from its inception.
That's like, because sometimes on radio I'll hear people go, yeah, I went down to Super Bowl. Okay. No, you went to the Super Bowl. You know what? I'm gonna write Barry or Dan or Eric a strongly worded letter.
Look, I find it equally puzzling, but it's Deer District, and it's not the Fiserv or not saying that you would call it that, but I hear people like, hey, you go into the Forum. They're very particular about that.
The Forum is not, that does not catch on. It's Fiserv Forum, Fiserv. I'm with that.
Yeah. But long story short, super long story short.
Long story longer than it needs to be.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was just like, I remember that whole time thinking like, man, this is amazing. Like, starting with that Nets series. And like in the back of your mind, there was also this like, should we really, like, is this okay to have this many people here? Because it was really game 4 against the Nets where you noticed everything started to pick up. The series against Miami, it was the first round of the playoffs, and at that point we had been spoiled of, we're past losing in the first round of the playoffs. And I think there was that, and probably a little like that same Miami Heat team that half of us were afraid to play. So it wasn't like jam-packed with people, and especially those first 2 games, they had us doing pep rallies outside the arena. And, there was some diehards there, but it was nowhere near what we would eventually see. It wasn't until game 4 against the Nets when they won game 3. So it wasn't, okay, this team is completely lifeless. And you knew, okay, if they win this game, then we've got a series. And that's when it really, really started to pick up. Game 7 against Brooklyn was when it was just insane with people there in terms of like what the atmosphere was like. And then as we saw, it just exploded in the finals. But, it was all with the, wow, this is incredible. Should we be doing this?
It's also the 2-year anniversary of when Bill was on a hot mic ripping on me.
Bart Winkler's the guy doing the putting the chairs down on Wisconsin Ave. Bart Winkler is? Yeah. Yeah, he's an idiot. I'm obviously very new in this market, so I don't know anybody. Bart is, he was the morning guy where I work. Yeah. Now that they all work for that station, like I follow them on Twitter. And Bart and I never got along. Bart he's knowledgeable, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't go anywhere. He very rarely goes to games. And they said they can still hear him. And he's a total.
That's enough.
This is the kind of guy he is. He went to a bar, and you know how LeBron does with powder. Yeah. He went to a bar in Bronx and did that with coleslaw and threw it all over people, and could not understand why people were pissed at him.
No, he butchered that story. That's the only thing that makes me mad about that is
It was potato salad.
well, I did do the coleslaw thing, but I told him the story on air, and we had a great time about it. And then now he's like, "Oh, Bart."
In
I would love
fairness,
to reconcile with Bill. I'm on record wanting to reconcile with Bill.
I suppose I would as well, because I've had you sent it to me, the same, not hot mic, but just basically the same, and referring to me as ill-informed by my former mentor Bill Michaels. But in fairness, I've seen you at as many games, maybe more, as I've seen him. So I don't know about.
Well, I did. I don't know what that was. The whole I don't go to games thing started because how much of this am I going to have to delete?
I'll just say this: that's incredibly rich. If that's the hill,
no,
it
only started because Freems went to every game, and then when him and I were trying to figure out the level of give and take between us two, he's like, "You don't go to games." I go, "Chuck, I go to a game a week, which is still more than I need to.
The TV.
You go to every single fucking game. I'm not going to do that."
I think it's safe for me to say, if that's the hill he wants to die on of not attending games, that's an incredibly rich take.
But I did get people credentialed. I was the point of contact for our NBA Finals coverage team. And I I could have taken one of those spots. Instead, I signed up other people for them because I wanted to be in the Deer District, which I don't know if I've always thought that would I end up regretting that? I don't know.
To be in Deer District is what you meant to say.
I wanted to be. Yeah. I wanted to be in Deer District, and not. But again, I can't say I was in Deer District because I was actually at Uncle Buck's on a VIP table.
So,
I would have never just stood there like those idiots.
I think my best. Well, so from Game 6. We were doing those pep rallies before the game, and for the most part, it was I did all of them. I don't know why, but it was me, and I'd either be with Zora or Jim Paschke and Marcus Johnson a couple times. And for Game 6, they had told us in advance because we would do it right in front of the arena, and right in basically where you were, right in front of those balconies that were now where Gather is and all the other bars. But they told us before Game 6, hey, we've moved it in anticipation of we're going to win and have a parade. So you'll just do it from the parade stage. So for that 10-minute thing we would do before the game for Game 6, I was on that stage with Marcus Johnson and his sons. He brought them in for it. And I mean, it was basically like a Summerfest stage that you're on an actual music venue stage in front of. At the time, there had to have been at least 25,000 people that were already there, where you're like, why am I here? They're here for Marcus Johnson. So it usually was easy getting in and out. And for that one, they were like, try to get here early, which was always difficult because I would have to record the pregame press conference for the coach and we would play it back. So I had to try to figure out a way to get our play-by-play guy to do that, which I knew would be a no-go. So I had to get our engineer to help me out and record it so I could get there early. And by the way, the play-by-play guy obviously wasn't Dave Kane, who's great.
No, it was someone else.
So I had to basically go out through the arena, go through the skywalk, walk into the parking garage, walk down, get through this like fence that they pieced together and just like shimmy through it to get to the stage. And then they're like, oh, okay, he's here and he's clear. Bring him up to the stage. And then they bring out Marcus Johnson, and you see how many people there are. And you're like, why? Like, why am I here? Like,
What did you say?
Yeah, exactly. Like, just let Marcus and his kids go up there. That's everybody just wants to see him and Josiah Johnson. Let them take this. So I just basically hey, Marcus, how excited are you? And just set him up with morning radio questions. And
no offense taken.
Yeah, morning TV show questions, I should say. Like I was on the Morning Blend. No offense to any of those. But like, so when did you get into basketball, Marcus? Stuff like that.
So basketball, it's the orange one, right?
So did you meet Dr. Naismith? So as I was leaving, there was this group of people, this group of guys, every single time would show up to every one of these. And it was at that point, I think I'm up to 5 now, but those were basically the only 3 fans I had in the world that would always interact with me on those. So I saw those guys as I was leaving, and they had security for us. Like, because I asked as soon as we got there, the stage manager, how the hell am I going to get back in the arena with these waves of people? Like, don't worry, we have an escort to get you in there. Like, perfect. So I, as I'm leaving, just go to say hi to those guys. And I look over and I see Marcus Johnson, his kids, and the police officers already gone.
Oh,
like
shit.
Halfway towards the arena. Like, how am I going to get in here? So I had to go all the way around McKinley and just cutting through the alley and trying to weave through people. They had police barricades. I finally got to the barricade, and it was right in front of Deer District. And thankfully I had my credential, and I had to talk my way through it with one of the police officers of, I'm supposed to be in there. There's no other way. Like, you got to help me get in there. And they were like, we're not going to escort you, but I'll let you through. And then it's on you. I finally made it back up to our broadcast booth just as I was hearing that adjacency break that starts the actual broadcast start to play. And I'm just sitting down, putting on the headset and the old radio of like, I got to catch my breath and then start talking for 30 seconds.
That's how I used to be during breaks when I would just get a coffee. Yeah. Bart, I just had to get a coffee. I remember that game because,
because they won.
Yeah. But I remember once they won game 5, like,
you knew,
but everybody knew.
Yeah.
The Bucks in 6 thing and being at home, like, everybody knew. And I think that was welcome for me. Wow, I'm getting goosebumps kind of. But we're such like a pessimistic, like, sit on our hands, reactionary fan base,
waiting for it to go wrong.
Waiting for it to go wrong, or we're not going to cheer until the thing happens. Now, there was one point, I think, in the 4th quarter where Frank Kaminsky tied the game at like 77, and I thought, we're going to lose to Frank Kaminsky. But for the most part, it was just a party that was happening.
Yeah. And
that maybe is the thing I'd like to bottle up the most, is that for one day, this pessimistic, backwards, always depressed, other shoe will drop, everything is the 2014 Packers. It wasn't that for a day. And I think that was the most special part of it for me. We got to puff out our chest. Now, keep in mind, I was doing that for weeks, setting up the parade chairs. Okay.
It's true. How many chairs did you have on Wisconsin?
So I was very confident that they were going to win the finals throughout the whole playoff run, even down 2-0 to the Nets. And that was just a series of tweets like, don't give into this curse, you idiots. This is going to be fine. My whole thing was, I'm a Warriors fan, and I know what it's like to watch the playoffs. It's ebbs and flows, you guys. You guys aren't ready for this. I am. I'm telling you. So that was my whole thing.
I mean, what ebbs did the Warriors have, really, other than like 2
Well,
years?
there was one series they were down 2-1 to Dellavedova. Dellavedova was the Curry stopper.
What was that Rockets series?
There's a series there down 3-1 to the Thunder.
Yeah, that's true. Fine. And what, 20? Was it?
Yeah, the Rockets series they were going to lose until Chris Paul got hurt.
Well, game 4 was the Chris 40-point game and the Giannis blocking DeAndre Ayton on the alley-oop. But game 3 was basically a party, at least all throughout the second half, too, because that was a semi-blowout. I think they won by 20, and it was pretty much in command. Because I remember going on some Phoenix station after game 2, and I think it was the day of game 3, and they were basically puffing their chests of like, the Suns are basically the West Coast version of the Bucks, with obviously coming into the season or into the NBA the same year, but they've had a lot of the same pitfalls as well, and not a lot of great basketball to sit through, save for that 93 season. But I remember going on the show, and it was basically them just, hey, we're up 2-0, like, cute story, Bucks, but it's over. And I remember like outlining, I don't know, like I think Bucks fans, at least the smart ones, are still pretty confident. And I think when you look at how the first 2 games went, I feel pretty good about where the Bucks were. And I remember it was like a 4-minute interview being laughed off because I was like, I think the Bucks are in a good spot. It's coming back home. They play better as the series go on. 2-0 against this team isn't it's not that big of a deal. I mean, they came back from 2-0 against the Nets, where they lost game 2 by almost 50 points. So I think overall we're in a good spot, and it was basically, okay, great, thanks. And it was done.
I just never thought they were going to lose.
I didn't think they were going to lose in the finals. And
once LeBron tweeted 2 down, 2 to go, I knew for sure we were going to win. That's when I started putting the chairs out, down 0-2, and then I put some chairs out. They got taken away. I don't know what happened to them. And then I put some more out. And I think we tied the series. So I went down. There was one Friday night where I went down there and sat in my chair. Then a bunch of them got taken away. Then I was going to be done. And then somebody that a good radio shepherd, I'll say, sent me $100 in Venmo and said, "You have a good thing going here. Don't quit. Go buy more chairs."
Well, good thing they sent you that in 2021 and not 2022, because you would get 3/4 of a chair with that $100.
I know. So I went and got the chairs, sent them back up, had some people help me. And then, I don't know, the city took them again. So then I put some, then I just threw some at the front doors of City Hall. And then people are like, you're just doing this. First of all, I did it because I believed it. I haven't done it since, because I haven't believed it since. But I did it because I believed it. And then when people go, you're just doing it for attention, I go, fam, I'm on a radio fucking show. There's 3 sports stations in a town that should maybe like have half of one. Our signal you can't get unless you like wear a hat of tinfoil and stand at the perfect spot of 76th and Layton. Of course I'm doing it for fucking attention. The hell? But anyway, to go off to one of the things I said, yeah, I don't know. I haven't felt the same like vibe since. This year was dumb. The year before, like Middleton being hurt really did fuck it up. This year, again, very stupid. But now coming into this year, I'll transition to the 2023 Bucks. They got a new head coach. So they're not, people are like, they're running it back. And they are, but they're not, because they have a new head coach. And people want to run it back. And I know this because the 1 hour, the day of free agency, where it didn't look like we had it, we thought we were going to hear from Middleton soon, but we didn't know about Brook. People started to panic a little bit. I think the Bucks' best way to win a title is with this squad. Now, maybe there's a outside way they trade and magically get Lillard and somebody else, but this is probably the way to do it. But winning a title is hard. We saw that. It's hard.
There's no there. I don't think there was a real way to do it without that group that you mentioned, bringing it back, that, we've all talked about it. For everybody that will complain about, oh, you can't pay Chris Middleton that much money, or this guy isn't worth that. Like, it's just the way the NBA works too, that you can't just let an asset walk. So your hands were tied that you have to bring these guys back. But it's not like they were tied like a bad connotation. Like I think it still does give you a chance to win here. But to your point of they're running it back, but they're not totally running it back I think they know and they've set everything up that this is a 2-year window that you have. And maybe it's just 1 year with this group, but everything is set up for basically a refresh or to hit the reset button in 2 summers when there's a big decision for Giannis. Chris will have a player option. Brooks' contract is up. I would imagine at that point for a guy that is already north of 30, like this may be the last deal Brook Lopez gets. At the very least, I don't think he's going to get a $25 million deal 2 years from now. So, and Drew Holiday too, who's kind of hinted at possibly retiring in 2 years. So they knew, okay, as long as we have this guy, we got to do everything we can to win. And I think the other thing that's worth pointing out, not to be like a total apologist and shill for the franchise that just so happens to pay me, but
I expected you would. That's why.
But I mean, we do also have to give some credit to the ownership group that we've seen how many examples of a franchise winning a championship and, basically doing everything they can to profit off that. Like, hey, wasn't that great? Let's sell the sod and let's sell this. And here's your commemorative piece of a ticket from that. Here's the floor and things of that nature. And then just kind of
16 Cubs.
And then just slowly tear things down and say, we got the title for you. That's great. We can't afford to do this anymore, but it's fine because we got a title. So you guys can't complain and just selling off parts. This group has gotten that title and said, okay, we're going to spend more money and we're going to do everything we can. Hasn't worked so far, but we're going to go into the tax. We're going to go deeper into the tax and we're going to pay for these things. So I do think they deserve the credit there. But, Adrian Griffin is a big change, and it's why it's not totally running it back, that there are going to be some differences. But the other part of it, too, is they've done much more tinkering with the hopefully role players than we've seen in the past, where it was really 2 years ago when 50% of that roster was new. You had all of those changes of your bench was completely reshaped. They've started to do the same thing here, that you have some high hopes for Marjan Beauchamp to hopefully be one of those guys. I don't expect him to be a starter and one of your 3 or 4 best players, but if he can be a rotational piece, that's a big win. And if one of those rookies, I think Andre Jackson has the best chance, but if one of those guys can be a bench piece for you too, that goes a long way in reshaping your bench and your role players. And those are things we've seen them just do some minor tinkering the last few years, and this summer is more of a wholesale.
So you mentioned selling off pieces. Is that what happened with the floor? The theory is
past year
they oversold the amount of authentic floor pieces. And so they pretended it was in repair, only to never be seen again.
Whose theory?
This is a theory that I've seen that I have chosen to amplify.
Where did you see this? On MKE Bucks Reddit?
No, even worse. 19-year-olds on Twitter.
I mean, they used the floor earlier in the season, though.
Yeah, but then they wanted to sell more, or they couldn't.
Okay.
It doesn't have to make sense.
I mean, if that's the theory that
the Bucks, when they played that Mecca game, they used the same floor that they used in 1970. That was Kyrie's theory.
That's true. That's why we saw so many injuries in that game too.
Yeah.
I never got a straight answer on it. I just remember showing up to one game and seeing the blue court, because it was the Wednesday home games that they would use the blue court, and seeing the blue court and thinking like, wait a minute. Because I think the first time it happened, we were wearing the 90s jerseys and showing up and seeing the blue floor and like, aren't we wearing purple? Why do we have the blue court? And then asking around and hearing, oh yeah, it was sent out for repairs. And then
organization wants you to drop the for the Deer District, yet they're wearing purple jerseys on a blue court when their main color scheme is green and white. What the fuck is going on over there?
When we saw the blue court, it was, thank God, if we're going to have blue jerseys, which I'm in favor of, we can't play on the traditional court anymore. That was just such an eyesore the last time we had it. But then if you thought that was bad, seeing the purple on the blue court was just an entirely different eyesore.
Yeah, I thought it was terrible.
And
I think we're being lied to. This is the Bucks version of Hank the dog. What happened to the floor?
I think the Fear the Deer court, like, they should just use that permanently. That should be the primary court. The whole alternate courts, it's
alternate court. Yeah, I'll stop. Yeah,
sense.
Alternate courts are dumb.
Right. Like, if you want to bring back the Mecca court 3-4 years ago when the city jerseys were the homage to the Mecca.
Yeah. Okay.
Fine. That makes sense. If you have a different color scheme, fine. That makes sense. Like, if you had an alternate court specifically for the purple jerseys, fine. But we don't need alternate courts.
Bring back the yellow Mecca jerseys. They do these jerseys that are obviously the NBA wants to sell, and we buy. So, but have these more than just for 5 days.
Am I the only one that the Cream City jerseys were not my favorite, and they certainly weren't my favorite city edition that we've seen so far. And it seems like I'm in the minority there, that everybody loves the Cream City jerseys.
I got to be honest, I don't like most of them.
Wow. I got to be honest, I had no idea until maybe 5 years ago Milwaukee was the Cream City.
Okay, so this is why I don't want the soccer team to be called Cream City.
It's going to happen with those names that were listed. That's clearly going to be the winner.
But Cream City was something that they might have talked about in the 1910s, 1920s.
Right. And when I said I had no idea, this is new to me. I didn't know this. Everybody thought, are you an idiot?
No, nobody did. And the Bucks brought it back, and it's their thing. So that's why I'm a big anti-Cream City. Is they're like, hey, this is kind of a cool thing that we can unveil. Oh, okay, Cream City, but that's fine. I don't want other. Yeah, okay, the bricks are cream, but nobody walked around and called it Cream City.
I have never.
And they maybe did in 1910, but they did in 1940 or 1960
but
or 1970.
In the first 35 years of my life, I had never heard anybody refer to Milwaukee as the Cream City or talk more than a sentence about Cream City bricks.
Yeah, who cares? They're fucking bricks. I don't like any of the blue ones. The purple ones I hated at the time, but they're cool now that we won.
So you hated them in real time?
I hated them in the 90s. I hated that we wore purple.
I loved them in the 90s, and I loved that we brought them back. But as it was pointed out, I mean, Dave Kane hated whenever we would wear those, and I can't deny, as he pointed out, we lose every time we wear these jerseys. And I think the Bucks went 6-7 or something, but basically 500 whenever they wore the purple last year.
I don't like the ones that they wore that they won the finals in even.
No, those are my least favorite of the black.
That. Why do teams do that?
Those are my least favorite. I like the black from this past year where they took the earned from a year ago with the antlers.
I don't like that either. Wow. I got to be honest. I don't like any of them. The one I kind of like is the yellow one, which I hated when it was unveiled, but it looks good when they wear it.
Everybody hated it when it was unveiled because you didn't get it until you were up close and actually saw it. And then oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of been quiet about this, but I'll go on record. I really don't like the alternate jerseys. Any of them. For
the Bucks or for any team? You're
I would say on a whole
guy that's just home teams need to wear white.
No, I mean the Warriors have one where there's a flower, but it looks like there's his guts are exploding. No, I don't like most of them. I don't like most of them. And for the Bucks, I've kept this quiet, but I'm ready to come public.
I liked the Mecca jerseys. I liked the ones, I think they were earned, that they wore Christmas Day when they played the Knicks, which were basically
earned in city. I don't know.
Which were basically the Mecca, but those were the white ones.
The blue one with like a wavy blue, that was
my least favorite of the
that was
blues,
like a
and there's
5th
only
grade
2.
project that gets a D-.
The city edition, sorry to use that vernacular, but the blue from last year were better than the first version of the blue.
Well, anyway,
I've been told too, I've yet to see it, but I've been told the city edition for this year, which it's tough. Like, how do you even base this? But it's, quote, something no one will expect, is what I was told. I'm like,
okay, so it's gonna be
that's
green,
every year.
Green and gold.
It's
gonna be green and gold, and the Bucks are gonna be in Packers font.
It's gonna be Marquette with Bucks colors.
Then I would disown the Bucks. I hate Marquette. I've been on the record to say that too.
Or Brewers, because Giannis is, a partial owner of the Brewers.
Nashville SC, he owns a partial of that too.
Yeah, like why doesn't Giannis get any flack for the decision to trade Josh Hader? I'm sure he was consulted.
I'm sure he still to this day does not know what a Josh Hader is.
What a baseball is.
Well, yeah, maybe that too. Any other tidbits you can give me
about Giannis? Yeah,
no, anything. Any secrets?
I had the pleasure of judging the dance auditions for, I don't even remember. I should know what we call it now, but for all the in-arena entertainment. So it's a great crop of senior individuals that we have. So fans should be looking forward to that.
And it's not Senior G anymore, right?
I don't think it's called Senior G anymore. I think it may be just the Bucks senior dancers. Although I don't know, maybe there's like senior as in we've been here the longest, and it's a different group. So who knows? Long process, though. They're very detailed on what they look for. Like I was expecting this to be in and out in an hour, and spent my entire night there.
Wow.
Committed to winning, that's what you got to do.
Justin Garcia. We couldn't have talked about anything less important.
I think we could find something
that I'm willing to publish.
I still think we could find something, but yeah.
All right. I think the seating at Pfizer is a little too tight.
I have some other thoughts on Fiserv itself, which I should probably keep to myself.
I just think the building's a little claustrophobic.
I don't go there very often outside of Bucks games because like whenever I get invited to, hey, do you want to go to a Marquette game? Or do you want to go to this concert? Like it has to be a band I really, really like to go to it, because otherwise, like, no, I'm in there 40 plus times a year. Like I don't need to rush back there. And by the whole trend too of comedians playing like basketball arenas, like, okay, enough. You don't need 20,000 people to show up here and do this in the round. So for any of those, it's usually a hard, like, nah, I'm good. So most of my, it's really just selfish, my feedback for like media dining that I have on Fiserv. But for all other sports venues, I've got quite a few takes for those that I should probably keep to myself to not alienate the 5, potentially 6 fans that I have that are also Brewers fans.
Well, I don't ever go to games, so how am I going to contribute to this?
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't go when you could get a free credential, how am I to expect you're going to pay to get in there?
Yeah, I just don't go to games. I don't even watch the games.
Well, how can you, with the cost and it's impossible. It's not on your TV package. So
cable, yeah. Streaming.
Just hate fans, So,
yeah. What are we? All right. Thank you.
Oh, I thought we were doing a 4-parter, and this was just
this is volume 1.
Covering the first part.
This is volume 1.
What else was I going to do today?
I don't know. My parents are here.
Like at your house right now?
Yeah.
You gonna throw them on?
They live in Florida. They're staying for the week in Fond du Lac. They have presents for my son for his birthday. They're driving through Milwaukee on Friday, but they made a special trip to come give presents now, even though they're not going to see him.
So they're just dropping the gifts off and like, hey, give it.
I don't understand it.
I mean, that's the best way to get presents, though. Like, you don't have to.
So as soon as I press end recording, I'm going to go upstairs. They'll probably be out in the car, and I'm going to say, what the fuck are you doing here?
They're just waiting outside? Like,
I think they're here. Well, I'm going to go.
All right. Well, yeah, you should probably tend to that.